And about types of trees, are some more flammable than others?
Yes, conifers like pine, cedar, and juniper can be extremely flammable. In the case of this particular home, they were lucky. The trees that you see were part of the original landscape. All they had to do was add some jute mesh and some new plants to hold in the soil.
You know, it's really neat. I've noticed that not only is it beautiful, but everything really has that California look too.
Well, you're right. Native plants are well adapted to the climate and conditions. Just check in with your nearest CDF headquarters, local fire agency, or UC Cooperative Extension to get a list of what's recommended for your own region.
So Rick, what about the work that's been done to the outskirts of the yard?
Well, in general, the spacing between large shrubs and trees is essential, even in this area, to ensure that you don't have a continuous fuel supply that could lead a wildfire right to the door.
You know, standing here, you can see that what they've done has really reduced the amount of fuel and then increased the fire safety conditions for the Bone Christianis.
They've done a great job.
And now let's help them out and put up the finishing touches.
Sure, if you'll give me a hand, we'll put up the address sign that'll help firefighters find their home during a fire. Now the number should be reflective, 3 inches high, 3/8 of an inch wide, and on contrasting background.
Okay. Looks good.
Looks great.
Thanks for the tour and the explanation, Rick.
You're welcome.
For more information about fire-safe landscaping and creating defensible space, drop by our website at fire.ca.gov. Now that we've covered the yard, it's time to turn our attention to the house. Craig's at a home site in Redlands where we're going to get an up-close look at fire-safe construction.
Well, Vicki, let's take it from the top and the roof. It is by far your home's biggest horizontal surface and therefore the most vulnerable not just to flames but to flying embers, which can travel up to 1 mile from the fire itself. The longer your roof can withstand the assault from those embers, the better your home's chance of survival. Redlands Fire Marshal Leonard Temby inspects homes for compliance with local fire-safe building codes. And Leonard, from the way you're looking around, I gather we're not just talking about that top layer of roofing here.
Absolutely, Craig. Many layers make up the roof system or classification, those classifications being Class A, Class B, and Class C, A being the best.
And these classes are just ranking the roof's ability to withstand fire.
We're talking about the total protection of the roof deck, we're talking about the roof deck's flammability, and we're talking about the roof deck's tendency to produce flying brands and embers that would threaten the neighbor's house.
Well, but wait a minute, don't all homes today have to have Class A fire-rated roofs?
You need to check with your local building official, your local fire marshal, see what the codes are in your area for a Class A roof. Here today we're in a hazardous fire area.
Okay.
This house actually burned down as part of some 300 houses that burned down in the old Waterman Canyon fire.
Okay. So this is being rebuilt now.
This is being
with
rebuilt
a Class A roof.
With a Class A roof. Here's an example. You have your roof sheeting, your felt paper, and your concrete tile, which makes up your Class A roof assembly.
Now, what about the old wood shake roof? Would you advise anybody to have one of those?
Only if it's a pressure-treated, fire-retardant wood shake roof that meets the strict California building code standards. Any other wood roof is very dangerous.
And yet these newer fire-retardant materials, they have to cost more.
They do cost more, but a recent CDF study shows that a fire-retardant roof increases the structure's survivability by 50%.
Whoa, well, it's tough to put a price on something like that. But now let's take this as an example where we are. It's brand new construction, lots of opportunities to make it fire safe, but a lot of us live in older homes. What about us?
Well, for those of you that live in older homes, if you have a wood shake roof and you're not sure that it's pressure treated and fire retardant, the wood shake roof needs to come off.
Wow.
The good news is that you don't have to start from scratch to make a fire safe house. For example, keep your gutters clear, and when you're doing a remodel job, always use fire safe materials.
Speaking of materials, Leonard, I'm seeing a lot of this galvanized mesh laying around the site.
There's two materials here. One is the 1/2-inch mesh that you see here,
Bigger
and this
one.
is for the chimneys for like spark arresters.
Oh, okay.
The 1/4-inch mesh, the smaller mesh, would be used for attic vents or vents along the soffits here.
To keep embers out,
To keep
basically.
embers out,
right.
correct.
Speaking of which, aren't the eaves awfully vulnerable to that too?
These eaves will be boxed and enclosed.
That's what that cross piece
That's
is
what
for,
the
that
cross
little
member
extra piece?
is to box the non-combustible materials.
Now over here we've got a window going in. Anything we can do with windows?
Yes, you can. The windows need to be either dual or triple glazed windows to prevent embers or burning debris to striking the windows and entering the house.
Okay, just harder to penetrate.
Harder
in
to
other words.
penetrate, that's right.
Just about every California house has a deck, you've probably noticed.
Yes.
Are those vulnerable too?
Decks should be made of fire-resistant materials. They should be boxed and enclosed,
Just like the eaves.
just like the eaves.
Well, Leonard, thanks very much for giving us
You
some
bet.
insight on the outside, so to speak. Now we're going to catch up with Vicki. She's with Terry Mizuhara from CDF, and they're going to give us some ideas on things we can do to improve fire and life safety inside the house.
Thanks, Craig. You know, Terry, during my own experience, my family barely escaped with their lives. To be honest, we didn't have a real evacuation plan. Is that something that's fairly common?
It is, Vicki, but as you found out, families need evacuation plans and they need to practice them on a regular basis, especially in the case that they're ordered to evacuate. However, you shouldn't wait till you're ordered out. If you're on your own and it's your call, when in doubt, get out.
What makes for a good plan?
It doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, the simpler the better. This plan shows the house and all its exits, and it shows where the family is supposed to meet after they're out, which is important in case they get separated. And it's human nature to try and save as much as you can by grabbing things on your way out. Here's something I really like, a checklist of the few most important things this family wants to take with them, if there's time. And of course, time is critical, so keep the list short. A basic list might include your homeowner's insurance policy with pictures of your house, a home inventory, a computer backup disk, and maybe a family photo album.
Thank you so much for that useful information, Terry. If you'd like more information about fire and life safety around your house, just download the homeowner's checklist at our CDF website at fire.ca.gov. Like most newer homes, this one is built to the latest fire-safe codes. Of course, the older your house, the more steps you'll need to take to make it fire-safe. Well, Craig is up in the California foothills to learn how a little bit of science and a lot of elbow grease have produced a well-oiled, community-based fire safety program.
Well, Vicki, why don't we start with the science component of that? You know, we started out this program by sort of conceding that wildfires are, by nature, unpredictable, and yet CDF does lead the nation in applying fire science to both stopping and preventing wildfires. Here in Nevada County, they're especially fortunate because a lot of that work is going on right here. Right now, in fact, Sean Griffiths is the pre-fire engineer for CDF in Nevada County. Sean, when I hear pre-fire, I'm thinking that's got to be prevention. Am I close?
Yeah, that's correct. It's my responsibility to analyze the data that's out there, fuels, weather, and topography, to identify those areas that are at the highest risk to a costly and damaging fire.
Okay.
On the protection side, we know what we're supposed to do. We fight fire aggressively and safely.
Sure.
However, on the prevention side, we need to be able to get the word out to the public as to what they can do to prevent a fire from spreading into their home.
Okay.
And we're able to do that with the help of our local fire safe councils.
I'm glad you brought up this idea of the Fire Safe Council, because I think it's time that I got out there and found out exactly how these councils work. So thanks a lot. Welcome. If we could get that. Well, it turns out that a Fire Safe Council is a community-based group made up of ordinary citizens, anybody really who's interested in improving community fire safety. Now, up here in Grass Valley, they've attacked the fuel component of this fire danger equation that we were talking about earlier with Sean. This is Michelle Phillips. She heads up the Nevada County Fire Safe Council and is in charge of the brush clearing and, I guess, public education component too, right?
Yeah.
So what have you got here?
It's our fire hazard rating map. It
Okay.
helps us to prioritize our areas in planning for defensible space clearing and chipping.
Okay.
Last year alone, we treated up 800 properties with our free chipping program.
800 just in this county.
Yeah.
How do you manage that with what I would think has to be a small group of people?
A lot of teamwork. The homeowners do all the stacking and cutting and clearing themselves, and we provide the chippers and the crews to do the chipping.
How's that working out?
Good so far. Clearing the brush the first time is definitely an accomplishment.
Yeah, but then it keeps growing back, right?
It does. Our office receives hundreds of phone calls requesting chipper services, and we can barely keep up with the demand for services.
Well, I guess that's not a bad problem to have in your position, though.
It's not. Our programs are definitely working.
Congratulations. Sounds like they are. Now, to find out where the nearest Fire Safe Council is to you, or if you want to start one, just drop by our website and look for the link that says firesafecouncil.org. With more than 125 of these local councils around California, you might say the idea is spreading like wildfire. In fact, Vicki is down in San Diego County right now with one of these newer councils to find out how this all works at the grassroots level.
Kind of like this, Craig. If you live in Carvacre, a seemingly innocent question like, hey, what are you doing for the weekend, can easily turn into a couple of hours of brush clearing.